Hello, this is Brigadier P.S. Botra. Today we will be discussing the chapter 1 of the prescribed book on our part. The chapter's name is Napoleon and the Dawn of Operational Warfare. Brigadier Bhatia has already given you a brief introduction to the subject of our part. In this chapter, the introduction describes the distinction between tactics, strategy, and operational level. And to elucidate it further, he has given an example of the World War One, in which the British government managed the overall strategy, government oversaw the campaigns, and the lower-ranking officers handled the tactical decisions. The chapter is divided into these five parts. First is from the Stone Age of campaigning to Napoleon, enter the god of war, the greatest army on earth, the new method of making war, and in conclusion, the new method unleashed. The first part. In all these things, I will be giving a brief overview of the whole part, and at the end of all parts, we will discuss two questions which are likely to come in this part of the chapter from Stone Age of campaigning to Napoleon. It gives the overview of the challenges faced by the commanders and limited part being followed due to the lack of communication and mapping. Some of the important points are first is the absence of the operational art historically. However, there were some instances of Greek war like the Punic War or Peloponnesian War, and basically it tells that the information flow was a constraint and significant barrier in the development of the operational art. Then is the second part, information challenges before 1800. Now, in this, he tells us that the commanders basically relied on the familiarity with the friendly territory or the pre-acquired knowledge for the enemy regions. That is the terrain for the terrain knowledge. For gathering other information, they relied on the reports from the travelers, deserters, and the direct reconnaissance like the spies and the patrol. This passive method of getting information like the travelers or deserters was just not reliable and sometimes potentially false. The active method of using the spies or the patrols provided better intelligence but had limitations due to the travel distance and time. So the spy or the patrol had to go and come back. So twice the distance they had to cover. Then is the slow communication speed. In the pre-industrial time, news transmission was extremely slow. So it was dependent on the geography, the weather, or the infrastructure like the roads, etc. However, some people use the relay system like the mountain messengers so that the information could be transmitted faster. But this also had a problem that the messengers in between were fixed. Next is the limitations of the command and coordination. For the pre-modern commanders, they faced the severe challenges in directing the forces over vast areas due to the slow information transfer, a corollary to the previous point. So the coordination among the armies on different fronts was challenging. Next is the command constraint. So commanders typically exercise control over only the forces within their immediate reach. So independent command by district general was also common. As the reliance on the centralized command over multiple fronts was impractical. Then is the tactical limitations and roles of map. In this large scale detailed maps were rare, which restricted the operational planning. However, we have some instances like the Frederick the Great using the sketches drawn by hand on after personal reconnaissance. But This limited the tactical maneuverability or the strategic planning. Next is the development of tactics over strategy. Armies often engaged face to face in the battle because complex maneuvers are not possible due to the difficulty in coordinating those maneuvers. Battles were generally fought with a sort of tacit agreements between the commanders. So they ended up in the head on confrontations with the limited use of diversions or surprise. Overall, Clausewitz sums up that battles occurred by mutual consent, focusing on direct engagement, and he emphasized the importance of strength at the decisive point, reflecting the limited tactical feasibilities of his time. Enter the god of war. This section tells that Napoleon revolutionized warfare by integrating the existing developments with his extraordinary abilities, creating an approach that dominated until 1945. Contrary to the assumptions about technical advances driving military revolutions, the period between Seven Years' War and the French Revolutionary Wars saw limited technological innovations. For instance, the muskets and artillery used by the Napoleon's forces was often at par or even inferior to those of his opponents. The Industrial Revolution impact on the warfare was minimal during Napoleon's era, with key technologies like the railroad and machine guns were yet to emerge. Some technical advances did occur, like improved maps, better roads, and development of the Chappe optical telegraph system. Now, I suggest you see the Wikipedia about the Chappe optical telegraph system, which enabled faster communication over long distances. While this network aided strategic coordination, its immobility limited its impact on the operational level. Napoleon's brilliance lay in his ability to synthesize these tools with his unparalleled energy, memory, and the leadership. His relentless work ethics, strategic genius, and ability to inspire loyalty turned theoretical concepts into practical, forceful applications. His op-art was characterized by the rapid maneuvers, decisive actions, and dynamic orders, and was shaped by his personality and decisiveness, ensuring its form and effectiveness was unique to his era. The next part of the chapter is the greatest army on earth. We will be discussing this in greater details in the question answer. However, the section explores the evolution of the operational warfare and the Napoleon's groundbreaking military strategies, emphasizing the increased size and efficiency of the armies post French Revolution. Traditional reliance on the small professional forces shifted with the levy in mass, enabling massive conscription and unprecedented armies. As seen with the Napoleon's Grand Army, innovations like Corps d'Armée, a self-sufficient multi-arms unit, revolutionized battlefield flexibility, allowing independent action while remaining interconnected. Napoleon's campaign showcased meticulous coordination with core seamless adapting roles. Key to success were his headquarters, staff work, and the direct telescope, which streamlined intelligence. The Austerlitz campaign exemplified these achievements, cemented Napoleon's legacy as a master strategist. In the part of a new method of making war, in this section, the war against Persia is described. Napoleon's Grand Army advanced efficiently, utilizing core system for flexibility. French forces marched through Germany, surprising Persians, who misjudged Napoleon's movements. By October 9th, early engagements like the clash at Schills revealed Prussian positions but left Napoleon uncertain of their strategy. His course coordinated swiftly, culminating in a pivotal battle of Jena and Auerstadt on October 14th. While Napoleon believed he had defeated the main Persian army, he had only engaged a portion of their forces. His logistical and strategic brilliance still secured victory. In the conclusion, it has been highlighted that the key elements of operational flexibility was done by the Grand Army adapting to incomplete information, then by corps acting semi independently but with overarching coordination, demonstrated the decentralized execution, and they overcame supply challenges with this disciplined organization to demonstrate the logistical innovation. Overall, it is said that success was not due to the superior information but the ability to function effectively with limited intelligence. Now, the questions. What was the impact of Napoleon's unique characteristics and leadership style on operational art? So, first, we will discuss his qualities, style, and then we'll see briefly what was the effect of it. Napoleon's qualities, he had high energy, remarkable nerve, optimism, and a tremendous belief on him in himself and his destiny. He had an excellent memory. He had good verbal skills and charisma, which inspired fierce loyalty among his troops. As far as his routine is concerned, he adopted flexible sleeping arrangements, often only 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night. During day, he was traveling, carrying out troop inspections and reconnaissance and meetings. In the evenings and the early mornings, he was indulging into the intense staff work and planning and dictating orders. His letters, direct, sometimes detailed, infused with the urgency and dynamism. They were written with the practical focus, showing memory and concentration. They illustrated his unparalleled competence and tactical tuition. Now comes the part of his impact on the operational art. Operational art likely would have developed without Napoleon also, but would not have been as impactful or effective as it turned out to be. His approach and methods reflect his unique genius and commitment to revolutionary military strategy. Next question is, how was the army and its headquarters organized by Napoleon to practice operational art? Napoleon Bonaparte revolutionized military organization and practice, introducing systems that allowed his armies to cooperate with remarkable efficiency and flexibility. His ability to integrate strategic objectives with tactical execution exemplified what later came to be known as operational art, the bridge between strategy and tactics. Here's how Napoleon structured his army and headquarters to achieve this. Core system, decentralized operational units. Napoleon's introduction of Corps d'Armée was pivotal in achieving operational flexibility. So, core composition, each corps was a semi independent unit capable of operating autonomously for a limited period. Typically, it included infantry, cavalry, artillery, and logistical support. Leadership, commanders of the corps were chosen for their reliability and competence. For example, Marshal Ney, Davout, and Salt. These decentralized system allowed Napoleon to delegate responsibilities while retaining overall control. Flexibility. Corps could march separately and concentrate rapidly when needed, enabling strategic mobility and surprise. This reduced logistical strains and allowed Napoleon to maneuver against the enemy's weaknesses. Centralized headquarters for the strategic coordination. Napoleon's headquarters served as a nerve center for planning and execution. Its organization, the headquarters included a small, highly skilled staff called Etat Major, tasked with translating Napoleon's directives into actionable orders. This included mapmakers, clerks, and aide-de-camp. Napoleon's role, he remained at the heart of the decision making, directing operations personally and adjusting plans based on real time information. Communication. Orders were meticulously detailed but also adaptable. Napoleon used a combination of messengers, signals, and comprehensive map system to maintain control over dispersed forces. Uh, Directed telescope. You may find a small question on this part. Directed telescope was a term Napoleon used to describe his system of trusted aide camps and staff workers who acted as his personal observers and messengers on the battlefield. These individuals provided him with the real time information about the situation at front and ensured his orders were implemented accurately. By directing this telescope, Napoleon could maintain control over his widely dispersed forces and adapt to evolving conditions without relying solely on the formal chain of command. This system enhanced his ability to practice operational art, ensuring centralized strategic direction while enabling decentralized execution by his corps commanders. Emphasis on speed and surprise. Napoleon's operational art relied heavily on rapid movement and concentration of forces. So, for that strategic marching, Napoleon often divided his army into corps and marched on parallel routes, covering a broad front but remaining within supporting distance from one another. This allowed for rapid concentration when enemy was engaged. Flexible timelines. His armies were trained to execute rapid forced marches, enabling him to seize the initiative and catch opponents off guard. Unified command and control. Napoleon ensured that his operations adhered to a single cohesive strategy. Command hierarchy. Subordinate commanders were given clear instructions but allowed discretion to adapt to local conditions. Operational unity. Every campaign was designed with clear central objective, whether it was to destroy an enemy army or capture a strategic location or force a favorable political resolution. Integration of logistics and support. Logistics was cornerstone of Napoleon's operational art. Living off land, his armies carried out limited supplies, relying on requisitioning from the local territories to sustain operations, which enhanced mobility. Flexible supply lines. Napoleon established supply depots at strategic points to support operations without tethering his army to long, vulnerable lines of supply. Napoleon's operational success extended to battlefield tactics. Concentration of forces. He often aimed to engage a portion of the enemy's forces with the majority of his own, using superior numbers of at the critical points. Artillery use. Massed artillery was a hallmark of his tactics, creating breakthroughs that his infantry and cavalry exploited. Exploiting victory. After winning battles, Napoleon relentlessly pursued the retreating enemy to maximize strategic gains. Examples of operational art in action. Austerlitz 1805. Napoleon used deception and rapid movement to lure Austro-Russian army into a vulnerable position, then struck decisively to achieve a resounding victory. Ulm Campaign 1805. His core system enabled the swift encirclement of the Austrian army, forcing its surrender without a major battle. Jena-Auerstadt 1806. By dividing and then rapidly concentrating his forces, Napoleon outmaneuvered the Persian army and achieved a double victory. So overall, Napoleon's integration of the strategic vision, operational flexibility, and tactical execution laid the groundwork for modern operational art. His innovations in army organization, command structures, and mobility profoundly influenced military thought and practice, setting standards that are still studied and emulated.